Hey, hello everyone, welcome in. And today, my name's Sugi Yamagawa, and today on VTubing My Slow Life Hobbies in My 30s, we're going to be finishing up the garden platform. So, last time we lapped both sides of these 4x4s, which, there. We did this. Also, I have a helper. He's around. He's my sister's dog. Then I'm pup sitting this week while she go have fun with her family. So we've got all of our what's essentially going to be the main frame of what we're doing, which is literally we're going to be making a box. So going into things today, first order of business is we're going to be cutting some notches. These notches are going to be for some 2x4s. I have a scrap piece which I'll be using to help make my marks, and we're going to be using 3 of them. Now the reason for this is because these 4x4s are going to make a 4 foot by 4 foot square, and that's going to be like the main outer. That's going to be the outside dimensions of the platform, and then I'm going to be putting some slats on top of it. But because my slats are only 3/4 material, I want to support them a little bit more, which is why we're going to make some spots for some 2x4s. That's going to be what these guys here are for. They're going to help. We're going to run 3, which is kind of why I probably should have just made lines versus actually just like try to actually like bulk them out or something, but that's what we're gonna be doing, or at least the first order of business, because we're gonna actually get them marked, cut. We're gonna be using battery operated circular saw Kuhn here. I'm gonna to kind of roughly cut them out, and then I'm gonna finish it with chisel work. I generally don't expect it to be any level of difficulty. Then I'm going to cut some 2x4s to 4 feet long to fit in those notches. We're going to make 3 pieces of those, and then from there I think I'm going to go ahead and actually assemble the frame on my little table saw cart here, and we'll go from there. So, but yeah, that's the game plan for today. And also, hopefully, finally, also attach casters, all that good stuff. So, first order of business is I'm going to be using some clamps. And the purpose of the clamps is I want these 2 boards that I'm working on, I want them to act as one. Because I really want the dados that I'm about to cut to basically be square to each other. So, with 2 clamps on it, both boards act as one board. And that's the game plan. Now, the game plan for my dados is I'm going to be marking on 12-inch centers. So, I'm going to do the first one at 1 foot, next one at 2 foot, and then the next one at 3 foot. So that gives me 3 lines. Where's speed square? So I do want to extend these lines, just to make my life a little bit easier, which I try. I'm not good at it, but I try. Oh, hell yeah. I was not anticipating the speed square being able to go across the boards entirely, but I got lucky. So, this is going to give me 3 marks. Now, the reason I'm doing 3 marks is because this platform is going to be holding basically 4 pots. I'm going to have a pot in the corner, a pot in the corner, a pot in the corner, and a pot in the corner. So, by having 3 additional support boards, I'll be able, 1 support board will be directly underneath the pot, and then I'll have, so each like row of pots gets one support board, then I'll have another like in the in-between area. So that will just help further support everything. So I've got lines marked for the center. And what I want to do on this is I'm going to mark, because this is just actually a scrap piece of 2x4, and I'm going to mark center on both sides, which is going to be 1.75 inches. So I've got a mark here, and I have a mark there. And my assistant has decided to visit me again. Thanks for visiting, assistant. What did I call you last stream? I called you Director of Moral Support. So with my centers on this marked, I can line these up, and then basically using this scrap piece as a guide, I got lines. Roughly squarish lines. I do want to check my lines for square. Which, that line's actually reasonably square. And then I can use this speed square to extend those lines. So for each dado gets basically 3 lines. So, actually, let's use a scrap piece of wood to support. I think you guys can see that. That's like right there. You can kind of see it on this board a little bit better. But we got one center and then outside. And that's basically the game plan. Is I'm using the center lines to figure out my width. Well, I'm actually using my scrap as my width finder. Now, I could measure all these out, but then I would be doing a lot more math. And this simplifies the math immensely, because I can just take this, score 2 lines, then I bring out my speed square, and then once I'm in a good position, I can just fully take my line fully across my piece of wood. Otherwise, I would kind of be just hoping and praying, I guess. But this is going to help me get everything set up right. Which that's kind of like, that's a lot of what woodworking is getting things set up right the first time. No, and of course I'm drinking tea, because tea is great. So, then kind of set this in roughly a position you guys can see. I will attempt to be moving this board down as I do my cuts, but basically what's going to happen is I'm going to take a circular saw, and then I'm just going to do a whole bunch of cuts. Just a whole bunch of cuts. And then I can hog that material out with my chisel set, and then bada bang, bada boom, I have a dado, which I need to make. Technically I'm making 6 dados, but by clamping the boards together, in a way I'm making 3 that I'm going to turn into 6. Also, we still have to think about the depth. Now, for the depth, I've actually already did this because I did this before. This was like one of the big prep things I did before stream. But what I did is I set my circular saw mark to 1.5 inch, which is the depth of my board. Well, the depth of the 2x4. So, the circular saw is going to determine my depth of my cuts. And then I use this to establish the width. So, and then ideally after I finish cutting my dados, I can check my dados by trying to put this piece of wood in there. And if this piece of wood fits, because this is just a piece of cedar offcut from the same mill, so it should be pretty close to the actual dimensions of the actual pieces I've got laying behind me. So, take a quick sip of tea. And I'm going to be making a lot of sawdust in this area, so, and a lot of noise. Should be real fun. Okay, let's have some fun. Oh, and before I get too carried away, because that was actually something I did take into consideration. It was having to make sure I have enough empty space behind me when I do my saw things. Okay. And that's one cut. We do lots of cuts. So I was kind of hoping for get a little bit tighter together with my lines, but I'd consider this okay-ish for now. So I'm going to kind of try to bring this a bit further down so you guys can continue to see. But I'm kind of doing a little bit too much coughing. Give me a moment. I got to go turn on my air filter. It would be nice to actually have dedicated dust collection for the circular saw, but I don't. Ooh, wait. Yeah, sure. Let's grab that. I need to grab another handy dandy tool. This guy. Brush all the sawdust off, so I can see my lines. Friend. Get a good sip of water in there, because, yeah, the air has certainly gotten dusty. So, let's see. Yep, good spot for that. So, we're basically what we did here, we're gonna do here, and hopefully this will be the, once we get all 3 of these guys done, this will be the main extent of making like tons of sawdust. Because we will be making cuts with this, but we'll just be like cutting boards to length rather than like trying to do something fancy like what we got going on here. So. Okay. Well, with that, my tool is telling me it's time for a battery change out. So I got a pretty good amount of use out of this. So I'm going to take this battery set aside and give me a moment to go to the den of batteries. Hello, den of batteries. Let's grab a new battery. And then I'm going to check this battery and see how good it is. Okay. So now I have all 3 bars. So, got plenty of charge on this battery. And hopefully this will be enough to... Let's say we're pretty much roughly at the halfway mark on what we're trying to do here. So, with a fresh battery, let's get back to work. Okay. Woo! Whew! Okay, things have gotten pretty dusty up in here. Definitely been kicking up a lot of sawdust. Really gonna be hitting my hydration. And thankfully I've got a air filter going. So I'm also gonna go ahead and do some future proofing, and I'll go ahead and throw this on the charger right quick. Because I don't want to get caught with my pants down later. Charging. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's certainly a good quantity of sawdust right there. So we'll start moving those, and we'll move this down. I don't think you guys can kind of see the edge of where we're working. Yeah, you'll be able to see like the edge of it, which is fun. The general area where we'll be working down here. But yeah. So this is last round of doing a whole bunch of cuts like this. And then hopefully we can start grabbing chisel and knocking all this stuff out. Woo! That was exciting. That was really exciting. those cut. I'm gonna leave these clamped together. Let's see. What's a that's a reasonably good spot for that. Now, I want to get a clamp on that. I want to get a clamp on this. And hopefully... Nice! I knew having these like slats around my table saw be good for something. And then I can lock one wheel into position, lock a secondary wheel into position, and now this thing ain't going nowhere, because we're gonna be hammering and chiseling. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna grab my 3/4 chisel and my 1-inch chisel, which, by the way, these are both Harbor Freight chisels, but they get the job done. So, I think for now, we're just going to be doing a little bit of cutting, just to see... Ooh, nice, nice. Just to see how well this cuts. Oh, I was not expecting... Okay. I was not expecting this to be this easy. Okay. Dare I say a plan worked out. Singular tear sheds from a homesteader's eye. Woo. Except maybe the dust levels right now. Woo! Oh! Nice. Honestly, that's going really easy. I'm not getting a lot of resistance, so I'm going to switch up to a larger chisel. Just to kind of expand the depth a little bit. Well, expand the amount of area I've got going for me. See what I can do. But wowzers. Woohoo! Oh man. So there's definitely a bit more resistance going on today. But this is definitely well within stuff I'm willing to tolerate for like this project. Which I can't believe how quick this is going. And you guys got a pretty good view. I'm actually really happy with the view. Because when I did like the Japanese sawhorse build, I always felt like I was like constantly fighting for a reasonably clean view of the action. But yeah, just kind of do that. I got a little bit of waste over in this corner, but I want to make sure I get that cleaned out. Ooh, nice, 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 nice. Okay. Wow, that's pretty much... That's nearly the thing cleaned out. Now there might have to be a little bit of a depth adjustment to this. But that's fine. I'm anticipating that. That's not a big deal, considering how quickly all that material came out. I'll take it. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh my goodness. It fits in there. It fits in pretty tight. So that's pretty good. My goodness gracious. Does it fit in both ways? Ooh, yeah. It is a little bit proud. It is a little bit proud, so I gotta do a little bit of depth to this. But deepening out this by just a little bit gonna be easy. Be real easy. Oh man. I didn't think, man, today really is a good day for this. Granted, I'm just saying that based off how well this has been going. I'm really happy with the width of this. You got real nice width. Just need to work on a bit of depth here. If we can get a little bit of extra depth, then we'll be doing pretty fine. Ooh, that's... I'm happy. I'm so happy I'm gonna have some tea. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cut the other one, because I do have this locked down. Oh, I wonder, could I do that? Could I do that from here? Okay, so we're looking pretty good on one. Holy smokes. Now the question is getting the other one done, which it's definitely more awkward. This is a lot more awkward, but granted, one of the fun things I can do is, because I know this one's my right depth for the 2x4, I can use this as a reference surface when I bring my chisel over to the other area. And that makes things really easy for as far as extending. But if I'm going to be doing a lot of going into it, I need to opt for the smaller chisel. The smaller chisel gives me the, you could say, penetration power. Granted, I think I'm digging a little bit. And I don't want to dig. Woo! Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Look at all that hollowed out material. We're gonna do it. Oh man, I'm gonna have... This is gonna be an area of carnage. Yeah, because that felt like that was digging. Woo! Ah! Man, this is just... Now, that was definitely getting a little bit too deep. I'm definitely getting a little too far out of this chisel's range. So, gotta be a little bit careful here with some of this. But as long as I see like saw marks from the circular saw, then I'm pretty sure I've still got greater depth to go. Because that was kind of the weird thing with this side of the world, is for some reason it looked like this side didn't get cut as deeply as the first side, which I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. But I'm really optimistic with this. And now there might be some people that are out there being like, hey, this isn't like the finest joinery. It's like, I don't care. It gets the job done. Okay. So, I'm really flush on this side. Happy here, not so happy here. So I've got a little bit of height, which I think is right there. So I've got a little bit of height here. I want to get that knocked down. And then if I can get that knocked down, so my chisel paired all that up. Oop. Better not abuse my chisel too much. Now, yeah, I can't do that. I'm a little too far outside range for that. Woo! However, though, let's. So that's reasonably good. Oh, hey, you birds! I see you, birds. There's birds outside. Damn birds eating my grapes. Granted, the grapes are actually coming along quite nicely this time of year. But yeah. Actually, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do the whole? I mean, granted, if it's really, 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 really stiff, I don't care. Granted, I think I actually kind of knocked them a little bit. Wow, I actually did knock them a little bit loose, it looks like. Because I have a little bit of an edge here and an edge here. And that's just from So what I want to do, ideally, is take off my side clamps and realign my boards where they're nice and flush. Granted, at this point, it's not super important that they're flush, but yeah, I don't have a lip there anymore, which is great. Because it's not like the most important thing in the world, it's just I am being me. I am being me, I'm having fun. Considering how relatively easily that happened, I am ultra excited about that. I will take any relief I can get with making my work a little bit easier. So we're gonna take this and move it this way. So let's see here. Can I just trying to see what's a good view for you guys? Because yeah. And set. And we'll get the clamp going and we'll do the next set. So I mean, granted, in terms of time, it looks like I might be able to get this done before the first hour of stream, which is really good for me. I was not expecting. I was definitely expecting a bit more of a process out of this, but so far this process is going swimmingly. Oh! Oh man. There we go. Man, this scrap's gonna be great. Burning in the fire pit once we get to fire pit season. We're a long way from fire pit season though. We said it's been way too warm. It's been way too warm. It's too warm for fire pitting per se. But I can dream of the days. Those wonderful autumn days. When it'll be time to do some fire pitting. Granted, I still have a little bit more wood to slice and dice up, and I have also been really procrastinating on EPA Woodshed Round 2 because of the heat, and also recently I've had like just a lot of blackberry obligations, which thankfully that's easing up. The next couple of days is probably going to be, well, probably the next week is going to be like the last like big hurrah for blackberries for me, at least as far as I'm concerned. But my goodness gracious, we have yep. Gotta get some of that out, because one of the good things about a project like this is I don't have to worry about perfectly cut dados, which is what I'm doing right here. These are really big dados. So apparently I have supported my thing on Ooh, wow, that's actually loose. Okay. So I did cut these a little bit wider, but that's fine. A little bit of play, that's not really going to hurt anything in the grand scheme of things. But I'm a little bit more concerned about this. Okay, is that the edge from a gap, or is it slightly high? Okay, so I think I'm a little bit high on the front edge here. So we'll get this chiseled down, and we should be pretty good. Okay, grab our reference piece. Yes! Another one cut. Another one cut. Another one cut. Another one bites the dust. Something, something, whatever. Okay, so it looks like it seemed to have... that might be... Actually, I think that might be part of the flavor of the day. Is I actually have... Ooh, that actually got loose. How did that get loose? That is strange. Okay. I'm going to reset some stuff. Like my clamp specifically. Because there's a difference in the height of my boards. And I don't like that. I want these pieces to be reasonably level to each other. So that way when I reference this for my cut through, like it's referenceable. I can just like be like, yes, here, straight across, let's go. So, in the meantime, let's have fun. Woo! Now can I get this one? So I've got this one like right on the edge here. We're gonna just go down here and kind of create a score line. So that way when I'm playing in the center of this bit, whenever I create a piece that flips up, it'll want to release for me. Granted, that piece is probably digging. Let's try to get a shallower angle, which that's more along the lines of what I wish to see there. Okay, okay. I do want to get this kind of cleaned out a little bit. It's not looking too hot, you know? Granted, I'm definitely overextending the reach of my chisels for this, so. But that's what happens when you push the envelope of Harbor Freight technology. But But man, if I don't push the envelope of Harbor Freight technology, who will? Some other YouTuber? Probably. That's probably who will do it. And then, if we can get a nice of that. I have a lot of bad cleanouts. But I feel reasonably good. Not much of a got a high spot there, but I think that may have taken care of that one high spot. I feel reasonably good about that. Okay. Now I am expecting. Now my cut here was a bit off. I kind of angled it in. It was wide. Well, we're a little wide, a little too wide here, but we might be a little tight here, which is within my expectations. We're very tight, which is fine, because all I gotta do here is chisel this down. Oh wow, that's not wanting. You know what? I have a solution for that. A smaller chisel. And now we're talking. Granted, it's kind of digging, and I don't want it to dig. Hey, no, I'm just wanting to take thin cuts. Emphasis on thin cuts. To just kind of widen this out a little bit. So just need to make this wide enough for my 2x4. Okay. Okay. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so it's a little tight. That's fine. It's really tight, but that's fine. I can live with really tight. It will... I can just widen that out a little bit more, but we're on the right track. Granted, I just wish I had a seemingly better way to remove material. And that's the that's my issue. But we're doing well. Doing really well. I think I did reasonably well with depth. See, that fits in there a little bit better. Now, doesn't want to go all the way in. And I have some high stuff right in this one spot here. So since I've got a small bit of high stuff, we're just gonna go, actually, the 3/4 chisel will be the best. So we're gonna start with the squirter line where that material is. And hopefully that's gonna come out. No, you want to. Okay, that seemed to have taken care of some of that. Let's try. Yeah. That's the ticket. And the ticket is a lighter pass. I was trying to get a little... trying to remove a little bit too much material there, and I was biting off more than I can chew. That's what was going on. Now that sits flush. That sits flush. That fits wonderfully. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than what I was anticipating, but that's fine. Because I actually don't have... We're not like... Because I think really cutting the dados is actually kind of going to be the hardest part of this project. Everything's still lined up, still good. Okay, I'm going to pick this up. Turn it. Make sure I don't have any buried tools. Don't want to have any buried tools. Then we'll go ahead and get this clamped up and start working on the final 2 sets of dados. Ooh. Hammer. Hammer. Ah, hammer. There you are. Hello, hello. Glad you could join us. Woo! Oh man, I never get tired of it. Never get tired of it. Woo! Hoo-hoo! Let's see. That felt a little too diggy. And by the way, when I say diggy, that means when the chisel digs into the wood too much, more than I anticipate. That's what I mean by diggy, or it feels like it's digging in. But yep. Just seems like the circular saw just didn't quite get me the depth I wanted for these, so I'm going to just be a little bit generous on taking material out of the bottom. Just yeah. Oh man, I love it. It's always fun to see wood flying around the shop, you know? It means stuff's getting done. Like a perfectly clean shop, nothing gets done in perfectly clean shops. Okay, that seems like a bit of a rise. So we'll take care of that. And we're ready to evaluate, which did really good on time for that. So, okay, it's... Yeah, that's great. I just think I have... few stuff I want to be like nitpicky about, but you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. You know what? I'll also take a sip of water. Damn, I love a good sip of water. Woo! Actually, don't need that chisel. I need this chisel. Okay. Last day though. Let's go. Ha! Woo! Hey. There we go, there we go, there we go. Whoa. Okay. So we'll do a bit lighter to pass there. Oh man, that's a thought. That's us. There we go. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and work on this last corner, and then I think we'll be pretty good. We'll at least start test fitting. Woo! Okay. I'm reasonably happy with that. What does the test scrap say? Okay. Side to side is good, and ooh, a little bit of a loose thing there. Oh wow. Slides all the way through. But good. Are we just a hair bit higher, or do we got a little bit of material in there? Perfect. Huzzah! Okay, so I've got all the dados cut, so really good progress there. Let's see here. I think what I'm going to do now is I've got to take this stuff out of its various clamps, and I need to grab some actual 2x4s to cut the length. So I think for now I want to just clear off my table saw area, because this is where I'm going to be having... Actually, wait a second. If I put this here, then grab this, and give it a chunk there. Wow! Look at that dirty. Look at this. Look at all this dirt. Look at all this work that got done. Incredible. Okay. Wonderful. So, essentially we have 6 dados. Each dado is going to get, well, 2 dados per 2x4. That's the game plan. That's the game plan. Let's see. And speaking of 2x4s, that's certainly a 2x4 right there. And can I get a number 2? Wowzers. And that's 2 2x4s. Then I'm going to have one kind of in the background, and then I'm going to have another one here. So what's going to happen is, step 1, I have this rough from the sawmill edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the circular saw, go ahead, do a cut. Can I? No, I'm not going to move this. I'm not going to move the table saw set up because I already had it locked down for doing all that dado work. So I'm going to go ahead and square the end. Once I have a square end, I'm going to grab my tape measure, mark off 4 feet, cut it the length, rinse, repeat. Fun stuff. Fun, simple stuff. And it's going to... Ooh, wait. One more thing. So I set the depth of my blade to 1.5 inches, which is actually the full length. I want to come out a little bit more than that for this cut, just to make sure that the blade actually will clear cut through the whole thickness of the 2x4. So let's just clean up an edge. Okay. And there we go. So now we have a nice clean edge. And then based off that clean edge, bring this in, grab the tape measure, find a spot, then find the magic 4 feet mark, which is way down here. And these are going to be the cross bracings for the garden platform. So I'm going to grab myself a couple pieces of scrap material to put under this, so that way I can kind of like raise this up, so that way I don't ding up the table saw top. I don't want to ding up the table saw top. I like my table saw top. And these are just offcuts of 4x4s, which I've got 2, but ideally I need to bring a third player into the mix, and there's reasons for that. So basically what I got is I got one on my offcut side, and I've got another one over here with my third gonna be on that side. Now the big reason why I have this here is I have most of my material going this way, towards the bottom of the screen. Reason for that is as I make this cut up here, kind of towards the top of the screen, is as I make this cut, I want this piece is actually gonna fall onto my table. So ideally you would want to support this a little bit more, but I have this support block here, and this is actually going to help this actually fall in the direction where I want it to go, so it doesn't do anything weird on me. Because the worst thing you can do when you're trying to do a crosscut on a long piece like this is only have 2 support blocks. Because if you only have 2 support blocks and you're cutting in between your support blocks, as you make your cut, that board is going to sag, and the 2 cuts are actually going to pinch the blade, and that's going to cause a kickback incident. We don't want to do that. So I've got 3 supports. I've got 1 support here, and I've got 2 supports on my off side. So yeah, just a little yammer about that. Okay. Wonderful. I've now got 4 feet of 2x4. Cedar 2x4 at that. So, what I can do now is I can now lay this piece with all its funness. It's supported, and this end has basically the sawmill end on it. Well, I'm going to measure off my fresh cut end, which is this one right here. I'm going to figure out my 4 feet, and then we're going to cut. Which they're slightly longer than 8 foot, so right here is my 4 foot mark. And I think I might actually opt for these boards to be a bit longer than 4 foot. It admittedly does not matter. Is that I just want to be close enough, because like this is a platform that I'm going to be putting containers on that are going to be full of dirt, that are going to get water. This is definitely like the king of this project. Does not have to be pretty. This project just has to be sturdy, and it works. And that's what I'm going for today. Sturdy and works, which really isn't a high bar there. And bada bang, bada boom. We got 2. We have now 2. Also, another great thing about projects like this ruins a piece of furniture. Granted, there's also ways you can hide that depending on the build you got going on. Which, like today, I could just like lay this in the center, and it'll be fine. But granted, once again, we are building a platform for a garage garden. Very, not the most particularly, definitely not something I have to be too particular on. Now, so we need 3 pieces. We have 2 of the 3. So the first thing I need to do on this piece of wood right here is get that sawmill edge off. So let's get that done right lickety quick. And there we go. Fresh, clean edge. Now with a fresh, clean edge, I can now bring this a little bit over. I can actually kind of work in a little bit more in a center-ish area. So we'll find our 4-foot mark, which is way abouts over here. Off camera. And with that, nope. So I've got that supported there. That's supported there. Things are reasonably well supported. Oh, with that, I can make a cut. There we go. Wonderful. So I now have 3 pieces. I have 3 4-foot 2x4s. And then I have this off piece, which this off piece has like some, I kind of like the grain to this, so who knows, maybe I might use this offcut in a special project or something. I'm not entirely sure. But as with most offcuts when I am streaming, it just gets set off to the side quickly because, hey, that's where I want it to be for a little while. Just hang out for a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna sip water, and so here's the game plan moving forward. I gotta go use the little homesteader's room, but when we get back, we'll actually start assembling the main, like frame, the main part of the project. We'll get all that assembled, and then after that, all I'll have left to do is to cut and attach slats. So I'm gonna hit the restroom right quick, and I'll be right back. I'm back. So, I got to clear off an assemblage area. That is the first order of business. And we're gonna get these 2x4s. Why is it I'm always running out of shop space? Because my workbench is just full of tools right now, and normally I use it for, sometimes I'll have room for like materials on it. But I've also got a utility cart that's also holding the material that's basically going to become the slats for my... Oh. You fine? You're fine. Okay. You're not going to... There's no problems there. Great. So, we're going to free these two pieces of wood. That's one, and if I can get my hand around it, 2 clamps. Ta-da! So yeah, thought we were only making 3 dados. No, we were making 6. So what I also need to do is I also have to move these other 2 pieces, because I have an idea. I have a grand idea for how I wish to bring this together. And the grand idea is essentially going to start with me undoing my locks, which I gotta keep. Oh, oh man, I'm gonna have some fun. Okay, so the thing I'm gonna have fun with is, I thought I would be able to freely spin this around. I should be able to mostly do that. However, though, I was having a little bit too much fun with my chisel, and now I have basically pieces of wood like this all over my shop floor. And coincidentally, these are great at catching caster wheels. So I'm slightly concerned about that. Which is the current immediate, like, oh wait, I did do that to myself, didn't I? Now, is there any part? Ooh. Now I may have extra foodbarred myself. Because I was hoping to have like 4 feet of space. Actually, I can get 4 feet of space. I know how to get 4 feet of space. It may not be how I wish to do so. That is a way to do that. That is a way to do that. You know what? I am a believer in unconventional ideas. That will get the job done. And in terms of unconventional ideas, so we're going to be using the 2 pieces of this project that I'm not immediately concerned about, and I'm basically going to use these as extenders because my table saw is not long enough. So for now, all that really matters is I get these kind of like somewhat lined up, which, sorry for, I'm going to be a little bit out of shot for a little bit, but I need to get all this lined up, and who knows, maybe worst case scenario I might have to sweep the floor. I hope not to sweep the floor. Says guy whose casters immediately find wood chippings from chiseling fun times. Okay. And let's see here, since we're going to kind of be going into the bit. Actually, I need to just that part right there. Okay. There we go. Now you guys kind of have a little bit better of a view of what we got going on here. And I'm going to start pre-positioning some of the 2x4s. So essentially, I'm going to use the 2x4s right quick to essentially somewhat reasonably get the assemblage together initially, is the game plan. Because really all this stuff is going to come together. I'm anticipating easily. I always hope. But I'm genuinely optimistic today. Like, so far, this project's been like really good. So I'm just going to be grabbing some fasteners, because once we get going, would like to have a pretty good, what's it called? Cadence. Wait. Ah, there it is. In plain view. I was looking for my drill. I was looking for this guy here. It's like hiding in absolute plain sight. Should probably have a slightly more organized setup, but you gotta work with what you gotta work with. So, well, I was anticipating getting fancy with this. However, though, that is entirely dependent on my bottle of glue cooperating with me. And it's not cooperating with me. Oh, there it is. Yay! I've got glue! Also, I've selected my drill bit I wish to use during this assembly process. However, though, I need to select the drive bit for my fasteners. Behold, the drive bit for my fasteners. Torque head, because they are much better than Phillips. So, I'm going to be extra. There's by no means for a project of this type, you have to resort to wood glue, but I am going to be using Type Bond 2. It is a water-resistant interior-exterior grade of glue, and really, I'm just going to be somewhat generous with applying glue to the surface of my joint. And mostly what this is just, I'm being overkill. That's all this is. It's overkill. It's overkill. By any means, if you were to attempt a project of like this nature, by no means would you have to think that this is actually like reasonable. So this is essentially going to become the top of the platform. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be drilling a couple holes. And I'm going to try to drill these in a triangle-shaped way. Kind of, sort of. Now, I genuinely think I would not need... Honestly, I think I can get away with just 2. But, hey, this is my project, so I can stick as many fasteners into this thing as I wish. And stick as many fasteners into this thing I wish is what this guy's going to do. And that's a big reason why I do a fair... So, this is cedar. The thing with cedar is... Cedar's reasonably brittle as far as a wood. So, and brittle by it likes to, like, crack easily. So, really always have to pre-drill your holes. Now, this piece of 2x4 is secured to this 4x4. And basically what my hope is I'll be able to spin this around, and we can do the other sides. But I'm also going to try and clear out a little bit of room here. Bring it a little bit more in, because now we're going to do the next one. And then we're going to just go down the line and attach. Which, who knows, I might give up on the idea of glue. Granted, I just like the idea of throwing some glue on it just because it's like another thing holding this together. By no means necessary. Ooh. Ooh, man, that one's tight. Nice. Tight's good. Tight's gonna, like, really hold it really well. Oh, man. Okay, let's pre-drill some holes. Glue, hang out over there. You're doing a great job, by the way. My life would by no means be as well held together if it wasn't for your efforts. And also another aspect of cedar being brittle, that you can barely see the but you can see I've got a fair amount of distance between my screws and the edge of the board. That's another aspect of cedar being brittle, is you want to keep your fasteners away from the end of the boards, because that's the part where things are most likely to split, because there's less support. So we'll do that. And there we go. That's half of another 2x4 installed. And then we're going to just lather glue way back over here. You can kind of see what I've got going on, but if chat can't see everything I'm doing, then that's honestly fine. That's fine. And ooh, is this my tight one? That was my tight one. That was really tight. But that's gonna be really held together. And I like really held together. Really held together means this thing won't break on me. Because there's gonna be times during the year where I won't be using it for gardening. And during those times, there'll be another thing in the shop with wheels on it. So I could like build projects on it. Is a thought. And there we go. Now I gotta go back to my desk, my main workbench, and grab fasteners. I'm actually reading a British woodworking book, and I know it's distinctly British because it's interesting how the words are different. For like here in America, we will call a drill press, but apparently across the pond, it's called a pillar drill. Which I can get why you would call that a pillar drill, but it's still just weird. It's weird seeing like other people's perspective on like what's essentially like the same stuff, because like I call these screws, I call this stuff hardware. This is stuff I use to put together project. I think the book, when like referencing like hardware in general, was fixings, which was like, that does things to my American brain. Not bad things. It's just my American brain goes, that's different. Okay, now, this was supposed to be the magical part, which is reasonably magical. I'm actually surprised I'm getting away with this much flexibility. So this is like the big reason why I had to kind of extend my thing here. So now, the thing is right now I have all three of my 2x4s basically all fixed on one side. So I'm going to grab this, tilt it over to the side to expose all my dados. And my game plan right now is I'm going to go ahead and hit all my dados with glue. And I'm going to line all this up, drop it in, because now I basically have like a, I don't want to say letter. It's a really weird letter E, in a way. I have a really weird letter E right now. So, put some glue on a part I didn't want to get glue on, but Sugi, this is a gardening platform for a garage garden, which I'm actually doing a garage garden because my garage lets natural light in, a lot of natural light at that. Okay, so with all that, let's see if we can't. You're reasonably lined up. You're reasonably lined up. Okay. Push you in. Bring this out. Bring you down. And you down. Okay. That actually came together fairly well. And can I do a little bit of extra service for chat? I can do a little bit of extra service for chat, which I don't know why I do this for chat, but I care a little bit. I at least want to be proud when I watch the VOD later, you know? Because I'm doing two types of work right now. I'm trying to be entertainment while also trying to build a project. And so since I went ahead and preset that, honestly, we're just going to keep going through and drilling. Trying to get everything reasonably knocked out in a reasonable amount of time. Hey, you. That's two first. Cool. That's that one. Now we go to the last one. And brush all that sawdust out of the way so that way we can see what we're doing here. I want to be able to see what I'm doing here. Okay. No, don't drop the torque bit. I need that. Okay, so let's go ahead and line out some screws. So you're going to get 3 screws. We'll grab 3 screws for the next 2x4. And what do you know? It's like I planned it. I have 3 for the last one. So we'll go ahead and we'll get these affixed. Do. Ready to go. And there we go. Okay, I'm gonna have a sip of water before we move on to the next part. Because the next part is now installing what's essentially going to be the sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking my pieces out. It's like, come on, platform, I let you borrow these. But I'm taking them back. Man. More heavy lifting in the stream than the average streamer. And then this gets flipped around. do. And we'll do a turn. Cool. Let's see. Where was our main view? Because we got here and we got back there. So, as you can see here, we've got half laps. I got half laps here. I've got a half muscles. I have them. And I've got one here. Now, these pieces also have half laps. So I'm going to be going ahead and I'm going to get pretty freaky with some glue. And I'm going to get some glue on this. And the cool thing with the half lap, you can also get glue on that surface as well. And I'm only going to worry about gluing one of the two sides. I'm not going to worry about gluing both, because honestly I'm throwing around glue because one, I have it, not because it's necessary to hold this together, but it just provides a little bit of additional structure. Now, I will say this: if anyone is any level tempted to build something like this at your own home or house, with the 2x4s, I used 3 screws. That was overkill for that. These half laps, since we're connecting a 4x4 to a 4x4, you have to use you have to use 3 screws if you want it to be reasonably sturdy. And then I also want to, in my interest of overkill, I also want to make sure I get a reasonable amount. I just want to make sure my screws are big enough, which these are just might be a little bit lacking. Let's see, if I use a dozen of the, because I've got 4 corners, 3 screws per corner, that's 1 dozen. Oh wow, I got this fresh box of, I think, because for the 2x4s to the 4x4s, I use deck screws. These are 2.5 inch. But I think since I'm primarily planning to, because the thing is, the way these half laps are, that's about how much penetration I have into the next piece of wood, which isn't great. So I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade the screws from 2.5 inches to 3 inches. So that way I actually get this project will be held together a lot better. Wow, I was expecting there to be a trash can, but I moved the trash can because a certain dog I'm babysitting is getting into it. But you see, the 3 inches are a bit longer, and then with that, we actually probably get like a full proper inch into the next board. So this is really the stuff we want to be working with here. Now, I do want to make sure that double check that they're compatible with the torque driver, and then also with the drill bit that I've been using to pre-drill holes, because I want to make sure I'm doing things in the way I should be. I want to make sure I build this right the first time, and I don't want it to fall apart when I've got big heavy things with dirt on it, you know? And coincidentally, now this might be the part I might partially ooh, hey now, I was not expecting that to happen. I was not expecting that to happen. Okay, I got a little too optimistic here. Oh, my boards aren't perfectly straight. That's what happened. I should have built the outer frame first. Okay. That's what. Okay. Well, we've got a snafu. But this is a perfectly fixable snafu. So, what's going on is, I'm presuming my boards aren't perfectly straight from... I feel like they're probably maybe bowed a little bit in. I mean, this is rough lumber, so I didn't worry about that a whole lot. So I basically have a little bit too much wood here in between on this side. So I need to shrink this a little bit. And I think my go-to method for that is I'm going to grab the circular saw, and I'm going to just make a cut here. And I'm going to just take a little bit of a trim of material, knock it out with a chisel, what have you, and I should be good to do the things I need to do. Except I want to make sure I have reasonable level of support, reasonable level of control. Oh yeah. Okay, that might not get the depth I want, but that's fine. Don't stick to the glue. And that piece has to go somewhere special. But yeah, this is the fun part where I should have followed the old woodworker's best advice. And that's practice before glue up, which I did not do. That's on me. Granted, this is should be a reasonably easy mistake. It's just, it is a wee bit embarrassing. But you know what? I'd rather be a guy who makes stuff and get occasionally embarrassed by a whoopsie versus be a guy who never makes stuff. You know? There's a lot of people out there who just never make anything, you know? And I'd rather be a person who makes things, you know? That's why I got into woodworking. Okay. Oh man, I hope some of those wood chips don't end up being glued to the floor, but let's see here. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. I see you're gonna ruin my day. Attempting to ruin my day. And now it fits together. So, just gonna make sure everything's nice, hunky, and dory, and that I have a nice little joint here. And I certainly, well, I most certainly do. So, that, time to drill holes for fasteners. So, let's see. And since these are 3-inch, I really want to make sure I bottom out the drill bit appropriately. So that way, everything gets assembled nicely. Well, so that way the screws have enough depth. Yeah, nice in and flush. We like that around here. That's what we were going for. And there we go. Now, that's also kind of one of the nice things about the what's called a half lap joint here is you can reference this material, this piece to this face, and then this to here. Ooh, the tip of that drill bit's a little toasty from the pre-drilling. But yeah, the pieces reference against each other well. And it basically makes it really easy to line everything up when you go to bring your joint together. So just kind of a, hey, this is good for a thing. So I'm now gonna, now my game plan, I don't want to take my drill away, is we're gonna be spinning this around. And that's kind of, now we can see this lap joint, which kind of wants to wiggle a little bit on me, but that's all fine. And we'll go ahead and pre-drill holes, secure fasteners, all that good stuff. Which, I'm having thoughts. I'm having thoughts. Oh. And my thought is, originally I was thinking about throwing some slats on this just to have like enough room to support the containers. I'm thinking I think I can get away without adding the slats, like, because I think I'm actually going to end up with a decent amount of support and all that good stuff with what I have. So, we have now finished 3 of the 4 sides. Push! Push! Oh. So that way, we can bring this lap into perspective. So, what I'm expecting is this frame might be just eat this way. This piece should just fall in here as easily as can be, which, yep, that's what it is. Okay. But yeah, okay, so dry run works. Dry run works. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water right quick. Because boy, oh boy, do I love water. And I'm gonna grab some glue. And we can actually start just throwing a whole bunch of glue on this. Like a whole bunch of glue. And then all this glue can just be a little bit of additional support. Which I think I'm building this reasonably well enough to not necessarily warrant the support, but I suspect I'm going to be a little bit abusy with this thing. And since I'm going to be a little bit abusy with this thing, I should build it to the best of my respective abilities. So, there we go. There's that. Getting some squeeze out there, which is fine. We can live with that. That's all hunky-dory. Okie dokie artichoke stuff. One, 2, and 3. And with that, let's go ahead and that's a drop screw. I was doing so well. Came so far. There we go, and lots of burr noises later. One joint's fixed. Which way? That's smooth, that's smooth. That's not quite as smooth. That's better. Better. Because here's the thing. This is where the casters are going. But that's the next step. That's going to be a step after this. So let's bring it around time to the next and final half lap. So this is going to be our final half lap of the frame. So as you can see, it's coming together pretty nicely. We've got pretty good solid frame. Can't wait to actually start growing some veg on it though. Okay. Do. And we'll zip that in. Then two and 3. There we go. Behold, frame. So, honestly, I'm having thoughts and I'm looking at this. I don't have as much room between these as I was initially thinking I would have. Like, this is 6.5 inches here. This is going to be more. This is almost 8.5, almost 8.5. And this is like 6. Like, honestly, I'm going to skip the. I'm going to be skipping the slats because originally I was going to run slats in the opposite direction of the 4x4s, but really these 2x4s are really going to actually do enough. So with that, I want to sip water. I'm a fiend for water. Like, perspective, I probably drink about like 2 of these a day. I'm a big water consumer. So, let me grab the magic box from the Magic Zon. Knife. And we'll open it up and we'll see what beauty. Well, should be beauty. Should be beautiful. Should be wonderful. Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that? It's a fresh set of casters, man. Which, coincidentally, for those who may or may not know, these casters are the same ones that are underneath this table saw. Look at them spin! And then they have locks. They have this little like thumb lock, so you can just like push this down. So you push it down like that, and then it locks it. It's kind of stiff, but that's because it's meant to be worked with your foot, not your hands. So let's take a moment to do what I call goodie unwrapping, because I like casters. As someone who works in like a small shop, casters are kind of love because casters basically make everything movable. And then these set of casters, they come with like this set of nuts and bolts, which you would use if you're doing like a metal frame connection. But we have screws and washers. Fox, please sit over there. But we're going to be using these screws and washers, which these are actually Phillips. You Phillips. Wait. Ah, that's why. I was like, wait. I was like, wait, there's two casters. There's two casters here, but there's two casters there. As long as there's four, that's good. As long as I have four. So what I'm probably going to do with these is I want to have them reasonably on the outer edge. Reason for that is if they're more on the outer edge, I can more easily access the locking mechanism for these. So there's lots of different ways to attach casters. My particular method that is probably not per se the most kosher, I suppose, is I like to essentially just get one side on. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be stepping down. So the shafts for the caster fasteners, let's grab some examples here. So these are the 2.5-inch torque deck screws. These are what are holding the 2x4s to the main to the outer frame. These are the screws that come with the caster set. They're a little bit thinner. So I'm going to go ahead and step down my pre-drill bit. Make sure I don't get too wide of a hole. If I drill too wide of a hole, then I basically end up in the position where my, what's the word I'm looking for here? The threads on the screws won't bite into the wood as much. Those are words. Those are words I want. So basically what I do is I just do that, and then that. So what I essentially do is I just do a little bit, just to kind of set my holes. And then with my hole set, then I can more thoroughly drill them out later. Because it is a lot of work to finagle your drill around the caster. And I'm always I'm trying to be in the business of making my life easier. I'm not necessarily always successful in that endeavor, but I try to make a bit of an effort on that. Ooh, that seems reasonable. Ah, there we go. Okie dokie. So I now have a drive chuck. Oh, drop the screw. I want that. I want that. So I'm gonna line this up somewhat. I'm not worried about using the washer so much. Because I don't really typically worry about using the washers much. Because even though the heads of the screw could afford to be a bit bigger for these casters, it's not a big deal. It's going to hold it plenty well, which at the end of the day is all I can ask for. But yeah, see? Which, big test is I can just lift this whole frame up. Granted, this frame's really heavy. And then this swivels around. So this thing is going to be really portable. I'm going to be able to move it around because one of the thought processes of this is this garden is probably going to get sown in about 2 weeks-ish time frame. I did post a seedling update on Bluesky the other day. So that's like up. However, though, this garden is going to stay in here for now. So there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing this project. One, it's hot outside. And what happens is when it's hot outside, lettuce immediately bolts. It doesn't actually do like a slow grow and actually build lots of leaves so that way I can have salads. I want salads, darn it. So it's in the upper 60s in this garage because the garage is part of a basement. So I have a garage door that has windows in it. You can kind of see it in the upper corner above my head here. Lots of natural light. I have natural light. I'm going to garden in here for the summer months. And a big reason why I'm going to have casters on it is once we actually get into the more fall weather and it's more seasonally like nice outside, I can literally just take this garden out and just yeet it into what's essentially my driveway and set it out there, and I can grow veg then. Then, as we enter into the more winter months, the plan is to bring it back into the garage where it's now warmer, and with my natural light, I'm going to kind of see how much of a greenhouse garden I can get going, because essentially a greenhouse garden in the garage. Because this is actually inspired by a weird project I did like 2 or 3 years ago, where like those, I call them 4-wheels, but it's basically a cart that you can like set furniture on and move it around. You see lots of people use them if they're like moving furniture or like moving people between houses and stuff like that. That's typically where you see them used. But yeah, I actually set one of my pots that I actually harvested potatoes out of. I set it on that thing, and then what I did during the winter months is that when it was nice enough outside, I would open up the garage door and then push the pot out into the driveway, let it get nice and sunny and do its growing thing. And then if it got like frosty at night, I'd grab the pot and I'd pull it back into the garage. And then I'd just like repeat that cycle as necessary. Hey, if it did not freeze overnight, hey, the plant can just stay outside. That's a little bit less work for me to do. This is kind of a scaled up version of that. That is what the game plan is. The long-term game plan. Yeah. But for now, I have casters to attach. Because we've got 1. There's 4 more to do. So this one is going to go roughly there. This is also kind of one of the reasons why when I was putting in these screws for the half laps, I tried to keep them in the center and I tried to be a little bit erratic. So that way when I go to mount my casters, there's no like overlap between all the screws I got going on here. Which was another thing I was trying to save myself a little bit of trouble on. Which I seem like I actually was successful on. Whoop, don't want to move this too much. This is the reason why I always try to be like real easy for this first couple of pre-drilling. There we go. And then once I roughly have where my holes are going to go, then I can really drill my holes out. For my screws. I gotta switch out. Drill for drive chuck. But yeah. I'm actually glad I was reasonably accurate with my anticipation on like the level of time it would take for this. Because I normally don't get this lucky. Normally I'm a little bit... I underestimate the amount of time it takes. Like, I think it will take like 2 hours, but it takes like 3. I don't know if that's an over and underestimate. I'm a little unsure on that. And then... Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. Nicely secured. And let's spin her around again. Well. Caster number 3. And I'm trying to keep track of... One of the things I'm keeping track of is like how I have them oriented. It's to be like some small thing to like be like a nice detail for me to appreciate about this project that I will not be able to see because this is the underside of my project. And ideally, after I build this thing, I really won't be seeing the side of this project. Also, another nice thing about like skipping the slats, which I was originally intending to install, is that's actually going to save on the weight, because this thing is actually going to be really heavy. Granted, this thing is made out of 4x4s. Good old cedar 4x4s. Made out of the nice solid lumber that Grandpappy made stuff out of. I don't think my Grandpappy ever made anything out of cedar. Even though he actually had a whole bunch of cedar trees at his house, but the cedar trees at his house were actually planted as a windbreak. Which one of the funny things about that windbreak is all those cedar trees actually came from Kentucky, even though he lived in Indiana. Which the sawmill that produced this lumber is also from Kentucky. Because this lumber came from a mill called Glasscock, and it's based out of Bloomfield, Kentucky. And they're actually a sawmill that specializes in just cedar. That's all they build there. That's all the milling they do. They're a sawmill that specializes in one tree species, which I think is cool. But coincidentally, one of the reasons for that is Eastern red cedar. Ugh. Turn, please. Thank you. Can I eat you a little bit? Oh, that's fine. That's enough eating. But yeah, Eastern red cedar does really well in the bluegrass region of Kentucky. The reason for that is it thrives on limestone, where actually more alkaline soils, where traditionally a lot of trees don't typically thrive on that alkaline soils, because the whole bluegrass region is the bluegrass region simply because of the fact that it's built on a limestone plate. All the limestone here is another big reason why Kentucky has the most kick-butt cave system in North America, the Mammoth Cave system. And it's because of that underlying geology that I have a local sawmill that specializes in this lumber species that grows well on limestone. The reason why this lumber is here, the reason why so many other things are here, is just because of what the underlying rocks are like. Isn't geology neat? That's actually the whole darn reason why even my city exists. Is because of geology. Good old geology. One of the more underappreciated earth sciences. And I've always thought about whether or not it would be fun or not to do basically a stream where I just dig a hole. But the aim of me digging the hole is to see how far down I can dig the hole. But yeah, that's the last caster. That is the last caster that we need to do. So, I think I'm reasonably close to finishing this build. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take... Actually, I'm going to grab a broom. I'm going to make my life easy and grab a broom. Because I want to gather up not just sawdust, but also as much as these big pieces as I can. Get as many of those big pieces as I can. And I'm going to take this off screen, and then I'm going to flip this down onto the ground. And then I'm going to manipulate it. And we'll see how it is. So, come on, table saw. Granted, this really gives you a bit of an idea of how heavy this project is. Because I can literally move my entire table saw with it laying on it. There we go. There you go. Okay. Oh yeah. Looks like I'll have a decent amount of surface area. Okay. Holy smokes, look at that. It's a platform. It's a platform. There we go. Yeah! But there we go. And you know what? This is like... That doesn't need slats. Because the pots are going to be like 2.5 feet long. So that pot's going to have lots of room to be supported. Also, this is actually kind of fun manipulating this with the broom. But yeah, also, if so desire, I have essentially what is a small but very utilizable cart. So if I wanted to, say, build a project on this cart, I could easily do so. And it holds my weight pretty well. Rah! I'm gonna regret decisions if I keep playing around and having fun. But you know what? I'm actually reasonably happy with this because it's good size. It's really good size. It's gonna hold 4 great big old pots for growing veg. I like the height. The height is actually pretty good. I think with the height of the pots and such should be right at the level of that first window right there. So be pretty good for like growing vegetables and such. So yeah, I gotta say, this is definitely a project where it's like, I have a vision. Let's execute it. Let's see how well it turns out. So I gotta say, like, this has been a good project. I am really excited to actually get my pots on this and actually start growing some veg. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be real fun. It's gonna be also real nice to be growing lettuce in August because normally the air temperatures around here will not support lettuce. So it's gonna be real interesting using this to grow crops that require slightly cooler temperatures during the summer months, and then using it to grow crops during the more winter months. And I could also use it as like a head start on the spring garden. Like, this is going to be a thing that I may not fully understand the level of utility I'm going to get out of it. So I gotta say, I'm very excited with this. I'm really eager to actually get it working. And it looks really nice. It looks beautiful right now. It looks beautiful with the purplish pink, like heartwood colors that traditionally come with cedar. However, though, those colors will fade and it will become more like a brown that you see on. Well, actually, this one's pretty brown. Yeah, this one's like pretty brown, and then that one's kind of brown. But yeah, the pretty colors fade because I guess nature doesn't like keeping pretty colors around for forever and ever or whatever. But yeah, so I want to say thank you very much to everyone who tuned in today. I'm going to go ahead and end stream because I got to get cleaned up, take a shower, get ready for work tomorrow, and all that fun stuff. So, just a short plug for next stream, which is going to be Sunday. It's going to be in the morning. This was an evening stream for me, so it's going to be at 10:30 my time, which is EDT right now, and we're going to be playing Stardew Valley, so should be a fun time. With all of that, I would like to wrap up by saying this is Sugi Yamagawa, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever it is, wherever you're at. And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.